Hello world, welcome back to another video. Today we had a great session. I'm recording for all of you that couldn't make it today. We talked about SpaceX. And my talk was a pretty brief overview, but what an exciting time to be a part of space travel. So today I'm just going to talk about what's going on with SpaceX and what's kind of their objective, their mission, just to get the word out and get more enthusiasm in the community. So first of all, SpaceX, his mission is to make life multi-planetary species, or really their mission is to Mars. They have a lot of things going on in between, but that's really kind of the foundation of where they started and where they're trying to go. Other things like NASA, it's really confusing on what their next mission is. So that's where SpaceX has stepped in, and they've really paved the way in making this mission actually foreseeable. And they partnered with NASA because NASA has said we've already explored in certain of these spaces except for one thing, and that's reusability, which I'll talk about. So let's take a look at some of the things that's going on. So first of all, here is the Falcon 1. That was their first rocket. So if you go back to 2002, this is when Elon Musk had broken off from his company founded, which split from PayPal, and he decided on two areas. One, to sustain our current Earth by making EVs, and the other one is to explore a new planet, to save our species by going to another planet. So that's where he put all of his money together and started making a rocket. And he really couldn't find anyone to work for him, so he became the chief architect and designer of SpaceX. So back in 2002, they first designed the Falcon 1 and had many missions there. Then their next one they had is the Falcon 9, which is still going today, and it's had several missions, but it was the first one that really had a reusable rocket. And then most recently, in the last month, is the Falcon Heavy. If you have been following the news, you've heard of that. And that's basically 3 Falcon 9s strapped together, giving you a much higher payload, which they put on a Tesla Roadster just for a number of reasons. You can read about that. And then ultimately where they're trying to go is the BFR. You can make your own assumptions, but I'll give you a hint that it starts with B, is for big, and then last word R for rocket. You can make an assumption what F stands for. And then over the right, to reduce the cost, as you can see, everything is reusable because rockets cost hundreds of millions of dollars and the fuel propellant only costs thousands of dollars. So as you can see, it would be more, they use the analogy of throwing spacecraft or 747s away, but just put that on a scale of hundreds. So if you fly a 747, you throw it away. Well, if you fly 100 of those, imagine throwing all of them away. So if you can reuse it, you're going to save a lot of money, which helps fund the mission. Okay, so here's some of the milestones that kind of give you a timeline of what SpaceX has accomplished in what I'd say not that long of time since they started, in about a decade or so. So they're first private company to reach orbit with the Falcon 1. And then they were the first private company to recover the spacecraft, the Dragon, which is their capsule on their Falcon rockets. Then they were the first one to make it a private company to the ISS in 2012. And then they were the first one to make a reusable rocket, the Falcon 9, just a couple years ago. And then they reused that rocket just last year. That was a major milestone. They were actually able to reuse the Falcon 9 rocket. And then last month, the Falcon Heavy, which is 3 Falcon 9s with the Tesla Roadster. Here's a little bit about how the reusability works. If you look here, this is takeoff. Then you have your first engine cutoff here. And then what happens is this engine cutoff makes a turnaround, and here's its first burn. Then it re-enters back into the atmosphere, has its second burn, and then back down on the ground on the third burn. And then here you can see it's on a drone ship. On the last Falcon Heavy, the 2 side rockets were actually landed on land because they had been able to do it so well. And the middle rocket didn't actually make it to the drone ship, mostly because of trajectory, but they recovered a lot of data that helped them. That was more important than actually landing. So the ones that they were unsure about still land out on the drone ship because of safety and trajectory. So a lot of amazing things here. And then here is the Dragon, which is taking the payload off into the International Space Station or where they're taking it. Okay, so here's a little bit about their Mars mission. So first of all, you have the BFR, which Elon Musk gave a great talk about this. If you want to check it out for more information. The BFR also, they had the concept that you can use it within planet Earth. You could travel anywhere on Earth in less than an hour, but most destinations in 30 minutes. Because if you go out of space, you don't have the wind resistance or the atmosphere to slow you down, and then you go back down. So really amazing. So then the next step is to refuel here, and then make your way over onto Mars, then refuel again, and then make your way back to Earth. One thing I thought was interesting, this is just speculative, but he was talking about the budget, and it's many years out there because SpaceX actually hasn't funded anyone or any crew, hasn't flown any crew. But if they would want to make it affordable for us to actually go to Mars, I think it was estimated between 100 to 200K for a ticket if they were able to get this transportation back and forth. And then it was kind of interesting that he said the ticket on the way back would be free because it was a one-way reusable rocket, because chances are if you made it to Mars, you were there, you didn't want to come back. So here's a little bit more about the mission. In 5 years is their plan to make the BFR, and the first one is uncrewed. And you only have 2 years to make it to Mars every 2 years. So that's the first mission. And then 2 years after that, in 2024, is the mission to send a crew onto Mars. SpaceX says this is too much time. They would like to go faster, but with the BFR is very complex, and some might say it's pretty aggressive. So that's kind of the mission. One thing also I didn't mention was the Tesla trajectory. They have some amazing videos out there of recording the Starman in the Tesla, and it's on an orbit that doesn't quite, it's on a solar orbit, but it doesn't quite match up with the Earth or Mars. And it's interesting that it could collide with one of the planets in millions and millions of years, but we don't really know. Anyway, that's kind of the recap of the knowledge I know on SpaceX. I'll continue to follow them and gain a lot more knowledge about space travel because it's fascinating. So hopefully you are also interested in it. Send some questions or comments, subscribe to our channel, and find out more in the upcoming weeks. Hope to see you again. Cheers.